For the Austrian painter, fine artist Carmen Wagner, art is a means of communication between herself and the environment, as well as with those observing her artwork. The artwork serves as a kind of mediator between all points of reference. Many people think that inspiration comes to an artist while she is sitting in front of the easel, holding the brush in her hand. The moment of painting has nothing to do with inspiration. It's only the means of expression for the artist, her way of presenting her work. The inspiration itself comes up hours, days, sometimes weeks before. It comes during a conversation, or maybe while watching the dogs playing, or when reading a newspaper article about a particularly striking or moving event. This is the moment of inspiration. The imagery is planted in the brain, you do the groundwork, make sketches, and then you sit at the easel and paint.
Dann setzt man sich an die Staffelei und malt.
The painting North Storm V is a typical example of when inspiration meets the technical process.
Und wann der technische Prozess des Malens stattfindet.
The artist was waiting for a friend when she observed a couple quarrelling about their home and where they should live. Now, it seemed that the couple arguing had first met while their neighbouring houses were being built. The woman lived in the house on the left, the man on the right. It seemed that they now wanted to live together, but couldn't agree about which house to share and which one to sell. While the couple were preoccupied with their disagreement, the dark clouds of an approaching thunderstorm gathered exactly above both of the houses. This was the moment that became imprinted in the painter's brain. This formation of dark, stormy clouds and the turbulent debating of the young couple became a dense and swirling maelstrom which she captured on a board some 3 or 4 weeks later. Normally, people wouldn't watch such a private scene. Artists are an exception. The painter, actor, finds inspiration in every little moment of life around them. Marianne's World, also titled Opposite World, Reflections, is the landscape of a soul, the soul of a very intelligent and well-read woman, an otherwise very sensible person, unfortunately brought down by addiction.
Nur leider durch ihre Sucht sehr stark am Leben eingeschränkt.
In spite of her broken dreams and tragic life, she managed to leave it all behind and progress to a healthy future. The relationship between people and animals is exemplified by that of humans and dogs. It is the oldest example in human history. Today we know that the dog is the only creature to have developed genetically to become a suitable partner for a human. This very special, delicate relationship between Uso, the English pointer, and the model Poravi was so wonderful that it became a must for the painter to capture.
Hat geklappt, weil beide so toll mitgearbeitet haben.
The relationship between people and their native country is especially very strong in Scotland. This was the inspiration for Carmen Wagner to paint Impressions of the Highlands, which is concerned with the Scottish Highlands, especially the composition of the soil, grasses and mosses, which are so typical of this barren but nevertheless impressive country. When Carmen Wagner painted The Muses of the Designer, it wasn't just important for her to portray the relationships of the people to each other, but also the relationship of the designer to his patterns, his subjects, and the abstraction that results if you incorporate human figures into the world of patterns and colors.
Den Menschen sozusagen in die Welt der Muster und Farben eingliedert.
The moment of greatest passion is also the moment of being at one with yourself, your lover, and the universe. The artist attempted to capture this one moment in which the souls go up into the universe, stay together, and find fulfillment with one another. A scene of two naked men wrestling could also have taken place in Olympia 2,500 years ago, and at that time would have aroused male members of the audience for the fight. At first glance, you think you are seeing a scene of affection. A couple turning towards each other in love, and from that first perspective, a busy and unclear background. As you look for a second time, you realize that the background consists of banknotes, and you ask yourself if these notes are authentic. When you look for a third time, you also notice that this big, soft-looking pile of quilts is actually a big pile of money on which the couple are resting as they turn towards each other. Money has such a high profile in so many relationships, and so the artist has cynically titled this painting, The Basis of Love. Susanna was one of the most fascinating models for Carmen Wagner because of the contrast between the wonderful back of her tall, slim figure — she's nearly 1.80 meters tall — and her face that has such marvelous round features, big round eyes, and a very beautiful round mouth, inspired the artist to draw this nude from a back perspective.
Rückenakt inspiriert.
A still life in art history is always a collection of dead things:
Fächer,
fans,
Flaschen,
bottles of
Obst,
wine, fruits,
Totenschädel.
skulls.
Ich habe
With this watercolour painting, the artist gave the term still life a new erotic meaning.
habe die Früchte
She
sozusagen
changed the
etwas
position of the
verteilt,
fruits and leaves the observer the job of finding it.
sie zu finden.
Carmen Wagner expects reactions from the viewers of her pictures. Which kinds of reactions they are partly depends on the viewer. The person who looks at the pictures goes up to them with their own feelings and opens their heart while looking and letting new feelings rise in their heart. Each person has his own history, his own background of the soul. The experience of each person and the reactions that occur while looking at a picture depends to a high degree on his history. Because a person who grew up with love and respect in his life will react in a different way to a person who felt a lot of indifference and apathy. Carmen Wagner doesn't ask how her audience interprets her artwork. She doesn't want to feel like an actor who wants to please every person in her audience in every scene. There is an old theatrical quotation: run after your audience and you will always see only their backs. Accordingly, she does her work with her soul and her own thinking and leaves it to her audience to praise and buy her artwork or to ignore it. Carmen Wagner's mentor is her teacher, Professor Heimo Kuchling, her patron, promoter and champion of her work, who realized her artistic potential, talents and abilities, and whom she thanks for finding her way to her own free development of her artistic identity.